So in this book, I delve into it and I learned some new things. For instance, do we have a guardian angel? Well, there's actually 2 passages in the Bible that suggest maybe we do have a guardian angel. In one passage, Jesus is talking to a group and there's some children there, and he said, "Do not despise these little ones, because their angels see the face of God every day in heaven." Well, who are their angels? And then secondly, Peter, when he escapes from prison, goes to a home where some Christians had gathered, and he knocks on the door. And the servant says, "Who's there?" And he says, "Peter." And she recognizes his voice, and she calls out to the other people and says, "Hey, Peter's here." Well, I said, "Can't be here. He's in prison. Peter can't be here. It must be his angel." So based on those 2 passages, there are Christians who believe that we have an angel assigned to us. In fact, I believe in the Orthodox Christian tradition, they believe an angel is assigned to you at the time you're baptized. I don't know. There are Christians who deny that, but it could be. But the other thing I learned in my investigation of angels, I thought, you know what? I don't think it's appropriate to pray to angels. I don't believe we're taught to do that. I think there's a slippery slope if you pray to angels that it might slip into worship of angels, which would be blasphemous. But there's nothing wrong with praying to God about angels. Martin Luther in the Small Catechism has a prayer, an evening prayer that says, "Lord, send your holy angels to protect me from the evil one." And so I never used to do this, but I now make part of my prayer that God would send angels to protect me and my family, my ministry, my grandchildren. And so I think that's totally appropriate to do.
Hate to brag, but we're pretty confident this show is the most vehemently pro-dog podcast you're ever going to see. We can take or leave some people, but dogs are non-negotiable. They are the best. They really are our best friends. And so for that reason, we're thrilled to have a new partner called Dutch Pet. It's the fastest growing pet telehealth service. Dutch.com is on a mission to create what you need, what you actually need, affordable, quality veterinary care anytime, no matter where you are. They will get your dog or cat what you need immediately. It's offering an exclusive discount, Dutch is, for our listeners. You get $50 off your vet care per year. Visit Dutch.com/Tucker to learn more. Use the code Tucker for $50 off. That is an unlimited vet visit. $82 a year, $82 a year. We actually use this. Dutch has vets who can handle any pet under any circumstance in a 10-minute call. It's pretty amazing, actually. You never have to leave your house. You don't have to throw the dog in the truck. No wasted time waiting for appointments, no wasted money on clinics or visit fees, unlimited visits and follow-ups for no extra cost, plus free shipping on all products for up to 5 pets. It sounds amazing, like it couldn't be real, but it actually is real. Visit Dutch.com/Tucker to learn more. Use the code Tucker for $50 off your veterinary care per year. Your dogs, your cats, and your wallet will thank you. We're going to get to demons in a second, but you use the phrase "the evil one."
Yeah.
So the foundational Christian prayer is what we call the Lord's Prayer, handed down by Jesus himself.
Right.
And at the end of it, after we seek forgiveness and forgive those who've sinned against us.
Yes.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil is the way that most, I think, Americans learn the prayer.
Yeah.
But there's another interpretation that says deliver us from the evil one.
That's right. Yeah.
And I didn't know that until later in life, but I suspect that was kind of toned down because the evil one is a little bit too supernatural.
Yeah. Well, there is an embarrassment in American culture towards some of these supernatural phenomena. In other words, American Christians often want to be accepted and seen as normal by their neighbors. Oh, yes, I go to church, and yes, I believe in Jesus. But, you won't catch me talking about angels or demons or miracles or any of this weird stuff. They want to be accepted as being normal by other people. And so I think there's a lot of people that just don't delve into
There's a de-emphasis.
There's a de-emphasis in many churches and in many Christian lives. And yet Jesus clearly believed not only in angels, but he was an exorcist. Even skeptics will admit, according to the Gospels, that Jesus was an exorcist. So he believed in Satan. He believed in demons.
Well, it was one of the primary activities of
exactly
his life on earth.
Exactly. Yeah. Look at the Gospel of Mark. I think half of his activity is related in some way to fighting demons. So this is something as a Christian that we ought to believe, and then consider what are the implications of this. That if this is true, if there is a demonic realm, if there is an angelic realm, what are the implications to me today?
Well, I would put it another way. Are you aware of any society in the known history of the human race that didn't believe that there was a supernatural realm filled with good and evil?
Yes, it's virtually universal. Yeah,
I've never heard of any culture that didn't believe that.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Post-war West.
Yeah,
drop the atom bomb, get rid of the supernatural.
Right,
because we're God now.
Yeah, that's right.
But before then, I mean, I just think this was taken as a matter of course, right?
Of course, yeah, naturally.
So if every society in known history reaches a version of the same conclusion, it suggests maybe there's something there.
It sure does. It sure does.
Why would you come up with that?
Exactly. It's funny. People will say, well, you need extraordinary evidence to prove an extraordinary claim, which I don't think is legitimate. I don't think that stands up to scrutiny. But let's take it for a moment on face value and say you need extraordinary evidence to prove an extraordinary claim. Well, the claim that there are demons is not an extraordinary claim because 95% of humanity through history has believed in it. So if you're an atheist, the onus is on you. You must present the extraordinary evidence that the demonic does not exist.
Well, there are also moments in the life of every person who's awake and not on fentanyl, maybe even people who are on fentanyl, I hope, where you know that you are being acted on by an outside force of some kind. You have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
But there are moments when you are much better than yourself, much more empathetic. And there are other moments where you're seized by the desire to destroy for the sake of destruction, which is also doesn't make any sense. There's no kind of evolutionary biological accounting for that. Why would you want to destroy something for no reason?
Yeah.
Another person, an object, but the impulse to destroy, clearly the hallmark of evil, right?
It is, and it's consistent with the Christian teaching that the demonic realm exists, that it is intent on luring us away from him and luring us down a pathway that is dark and that is dangerous.
But people feel that. You don't have to be a Christian to have felt that. If you're honest with yourself, there are moments where you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Right?
And yet we do have cases where we have evidence that there is a demonic realm.
All right. So let's go. Let me ask you one last angel question. Because I'm trying to faithfully go in order based on, because you can judge a book by its cover, I've decided. So you said that angels in the New Testament, and perhaps also in the Old, but angels are described as present in our world.
Yes.
Like we will mistake angels for people.
Could very well. That's right. That's predicted.
So do you think that happens?
Yes.
And if so, can you give us an example? And what would be the purpose of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. In the book of Hebrews, it says that we will do it unbeknownst to ourselves. So in other words, the implication is that we will have angelic encounters, but we won't realize they're angels. And I think that does happen. Now, I have a couple of cases in my book. One is a pastor who is driving his car in Ohio. He loses control of the car. He hits a telephone or an electric transformer kind of a pole type of thing. The wires fall down on his car. The doors are jammed shut. The electricity is coursing through the car, so much so that the windshield starts to melt, and he's trapped in this car. He don't know what to do. And he begins to pray, God, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And a man, scruffy kind of guy, comes walking up to the car. And he opens the car, whose doors were jammed. He opens the door. He reaches in. He lifts out this pastor and takes him about 50 yards away from the car, which then explodes. And he says to the pastor, he says, you're going to be okay. You're okay now. But the police are on their way, and I can't be here when they get here. So just know that you're okay. And he walked away and disappeared. Now, the people, the medics who came, the emergency technicians and so forth that came as a result of the accident, and they look at the car and say, they can't explain how this is possible that somebody could have opened that car door and not been electrocuted and rescued this pastor. And yet it happened. And the pastor says, I believe it was an angel. Well, maybe, could have been. How do you prove something like that? But I mean, how do you explain it away naturally? How do you explain it away that he's able to come, grip the car door, and open up this car that had been jammed shut? So I think, yeah, there are cases where I think the logical explanation, the most reasonable explanation, if you don't rule out the supernatural at the outset, is that it was an angelic encounter.
Amazing. But there are probably more subtle experiences too.
Yes, no doubt.
Where you learn something, you encounter somebody out of nowhere who tells you something, or who tests your compassion. Yeah,
could very well be. And even the incident I had that seemed to, as an atheist, so here I am in this church, nearly 30 years old, hearing this, understanding the gospel anyway for the first time. And that encounter I had with an angel is something that helped open my heart to the truth of the gospel.
Amazing.
Of course, I had to spend 2 years of my life investigating it from a, to kind of conclude that it really was true. But it did propel me down that road toward God.